Hey there, everyone. Happy Saturday. Thanks for joining me today for a special Saturday stitch along. So, we are going to finish up our letter to Santa embroidery today. There's quite a bit to do yet, so we'll be here for a while. Here is a finished one right here. And we are going to just hang out and stitch today until we have this guy done. I am also going to take off the transfer paper, the stick and stitch transfer paper that we have here as well. So that'll be taking it off with water when we're done. So we will have a totally finished embroidery when we're done here today. I'm going to be here for a couple hours. We'll be here live, so feel free to pop in or, whenever you want during the day, and I will be here. So thanks for joining me. My name's Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make cute embroidery kits for the beginning crafter. And I am here typically every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And again, today we're having our special Saturday stitch along to finish this up. I'm typically here for an hour in the evening. Today will be more like 3 hours, maybe a little bit more. I'm trying to estimate how much longer it'll take to do this embroidery, but I think a good 3 hours. So again, feel free to pop in and out as you want during the day here over the next couple hours, and we are going to finish up the letter to Santa. This is our November embroidery of the month. So I hope you have fun today and join me, and we'll just finish some stitching. So thanks again for being here, everyone. All right, hello. Tic Tac Foe is over on YouTube. That's my brother. All right, you guys. So here we are. We finished all of this last night, so that felt like a lot. Like that felt like a big, colorful chunk that we got done. So that's nice. Oh, Susan from Berlin, Germany. Thanks for stopping by. We got Luann and Mary here. Pamela, Shirley, thank you guys for joining me. I know this is kind of a bizarre time for me to be here, but I do like doing these Saturday stitch-alongs every once in a while. All right, so again, I have my iPad open here. This is the digital pattern. I printed that out I showed you guys how to trace the design a couple days ago, but I'm using that stick and stitch stabilizer that comes with the bundle, and it is basically a sticker that we've stuck on here. It's been printed on already, so these are like the actual lines from the pattern, not like my trace lines. So that makes the stabilizer kind of nice. When we're done stitching today, we will go over how to take that off. But yeah, so I have my pattern open, and that'll show me the colors to use and also what stitches. So I'm going to just have this near me. So just so you know, that's here. I have my little thread conditioner, my thread, everything ready to go. My needle minder, let's get that on here. So this is those two magnets, and that's just to kind of house my needle when I'm not using it. So my needle's hanging out there. We're going to start today with some French knots. So I'm going to get you down here again. Nice and close. So, all right. We are starting today with these French knots. So I always like going over some of the things you might be doing wrong with French knots. If you have trouble with French knots, you might be doing one or more of these 3 things. So we're going to go over that first, just in case you're further than me on this. Shirley just says that she finished hers. That's amazing. Anne-Marie from Pretoria, South Africa is here. Oh, thanks for joining me. So that's what's kind of fun at this time of day. It's fun having like a different day that we do this sometimes, because then other people can join in, which is nice. All right, so we are going to get some of this blue out. I'm going to put a few extra dots on here, and we'll go over some French knot stuff. So we'll cut these out later, I think. But we'll have a few extra dots here for now before we go ahead and do the rest of these. All right, where's the end on here? I do have my coffee today. That's what's so nice. Oh, Justin's wondering what a thread conditioner is. I've been using, or tic-tac-toe. My brother Justin. Maybe I just revealed his secret identity there, but anyway. I'll be using this thread conditioner. I'll show you that in a moment. That'll help keep my threads together, and it'll help just with the friction of the thread going through the fabric. It just kind of protects it a little bit. I honestly use it. I'm just kind of testing it out. I know a lot of people use thread conditioners a lot when they're stitching. It kind of helps keep the knots away to some extent. I'm personally using it because it smells amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. All right, so I'm separating my threads. I'm stitching with just 3 threads through this, so I am just isolating one thread and then giving that a pull. It'll bunch up behind me and then just kind of release like this. So I just run my hand through it to kind of get it straight again. This, I find, is the easiest way to separate threads. You can actually do it really fast. It's way easier than trying to pull like strands apart like that. It looks like it's cumbersome and like it would take a long time, but it's actually so much faster and way less prone to knotting. So I like that way of doing it. I'm going to go a little bit higher here, you guys. All right, let's go. Let's hang out here today. All right, so I'm going to now put these strands back together, and that's when I'm going to run it through. Run it through. Is that what it's called? That's funny. My brother, tic-tac-toe. I revealed him to the world. So apparently he's on Twitch and does a lot of stuff on Twitch. And so don't tell anybody else on Twitch who he is. All right, so I'm just running it through there. And you can see I've used it before. Just putting my finger on and pressing it through. It's basically like a beeswax. But dang, it smells good. So the kind that I'm using is by Wisecraft Handmade. So you can see Wisecraft and then just put handmade and then .com. The Rainfall one, I think that's my favorite. This is the one that I wasn't going to get, but now it's my favorite one. There's 3 different flavors or scents. The Rainfall, I think it smells like Christmas. It's called Rainfall, so I'm thinking it's like rain, like a warm rain in an evergreen grove. That's what it smells like. Ugh, it's yummy though. So it kind of fits, the smell actually fits quite well here. All right, so let's go over a French knot. I'm going to just start with a little knot because I'm going to cut all this out. It's a little different than how I usually start something, but we'll go over that too. Okay, so I'll show you how to do a French knot, and then I'll kind of show you a couple things you might be doing wrong here. All right. Oh, Rebecca is asking what is. I keep wanting to say it. So tic-tac-toe over on YouTube is my brother, but he's like, oh, you doxed me, or doxed, and Rebecca was asking what doxed meant, and it meant revealed my name. So I revealed. So that's some Twitch lingo, I'm thinking. So, all right. So here we are. I'm just coming up at one of my dots. So one of these blue dots that this is just representing where, some French knots might be. So like these guys here, these dots will all be French knots. But I'm just kind of showing you an example here. All right, so I'm going to do a French knot. I'm just going to do one first. Well, I'll just kind of explain it, and then I'll show you what you might be doing wrong. So I'm holding the thread. I actually like coming up at one side of the dot. I'm not right in the middle. So I'm going to point the needle away from my fabric. If you're right-handed, then you'll actually be pointing it towards your left hand, not towards the fabric. And I'm going to wrap the needle around the floss twice. I'm going to put my finger down on there to hold those loops in place. And now I'm going to point it towards the fabric. I'm not going to go in the exact same hole. I'm going to go kind of across that hole. I'm just going to put my needle in about halfway, and then I can let go of those loops. I'm going to pull on those loops now so that they are tight against the fabric and the needle. So you can see it kind of like that. They're sitting right there. And then I'm going to put my thumb over it, or a finger, just so those loops don't get away from me while I pull the needle through to the back. And once I feel that it's pulled all the way, I'll release it. And there we go. We got our little perfect little French knot there. So I'm going to do another one quicker. We'll do it right here. I like having a surface, whether it's your lap or a table, because this is kind of a two-handed deal here. Or if you are working in a stand, then this is super easy. You don't have to set it down at all. It's in the embroidery stand. But there we go. There is another cute little French knot. And, all right. So, there are 3 things, I think. Like, let's say you're having some trouble with the French knot. I know a lot of people struggle with getting, like, these nice little tight French knots. There are 3 things you may be doing wrong. So, you know, if you're doing a French knot now and something's coming weird, let me know if any of these are happening, and we're going to solve it for you. So here's the first thing you might be doing wrong. Okay, I'm coming up. I'm going to do everything else right except for the one thing. All right. So the first thing you might be doing wrong is, instead of pointing the needle away from the fabric, like towards your left hand, away from the fabric, you might be pointing it towards the fabric. So, get a little bit closer. All right, I can do that. We're going to get way down here for a sec. I'm going to come back up in a moment, but just so I'm going to whack the camera if I stay here too long. But all right. So here's a couple things that you may be doing a hair wrong. Pointing the needle towards instead of away. You want it away from, like, here's the eye of my needle. You want it pointed away, the tip away from your fabric towards your left hand, you know, and then you're wrapping. One thing you might be doing wrong is pointing it towards. So let's see what happens when you do that. Okay, so I'm going to wrap twice. And now I'm towards. This is the wrong way. And then I'm going to go down. I might do everything else right, like I'm pulling the loops close, pulling through. But with pointing the needle towards, all I end up with is one little tiny stitch. So this is just like a little, it's not even a knot. It's just like, it's like one of these anchor stitches that we've been making for these. It is just a tiny little stitch. So if that's happening to you, you're doing French knots and they're not even coming out as knots. They're just coming out as little baby stitches. It's because you're pointing the needle towards the fabric at the beginning instead of away. So here's again what you might be doing. So you were pointing the needle towards the fabric instead of away from the fabric. So like if you line up your floss and your needle together like this, the needle should be pointing away. Now you can wrap it around twice. So this is the right way. Towards is the wrong way. Okay, so we'll wrap around twice the right way. And after you hold these down, now is when you point towards. So you start away and then you end up pointing towards after. So let's finish this one up. Pull it through, and there we go. There's our little knot. So that's the first thing you may be, you might be doing wrong. So let me know if you've ever done that before. I've done all these things, by the way. So, all right. So the next thing you could be doing wrong is going back in the same hole that you came out of. So I'm going to come up right in the center of this dot. I'm actually going to make it a little bit bigger. This is a little tightly woven, but let's say you come right up in the center of the next dot. I'm going to do everything else right. Oh, I feel like I am getting a big loop of crazy back there. Okay, there we are. All right, so I came up right in the center. You know, I'm pointing away, so that's good. Holding my 2 loops. So the thing you might be doing wrong here is going back in that exact same hole that you came out of. I know that's the natural way to think about a French knot because, oh, there's just one dot. I'll come up through that hole and I'll go back through that hole, right? So that's what I'm doing now. So I think I'm in the exact same hole. Okay, yeah, so I went back in the exact same hole. You know, I'm going to do everything else right. I'm pulling it tight against there. So let's see if I can get this to work. So if you're going in the back in the exact same hole, you risk your knot popping through to the back. So I just pulled a little tighter, pulled my knot a little tight, and it popped right through to the back. So that's not what you want. And then you're really in a mess because now you have like this knot hanging out on the back that you're not really going to be able to undo. He's just going to have to hang out back there. So that happened because I went in the exact same hole. So no good. What you want to do instead, or what I like doing is, you know, like let's look at this. I like coming up from one side. So I always kind of start on the lower right side of the dot and I go back in on the upper left side. So I just kind of cross over the dot. That way you have a few threads, like you have a few fabric threads in between, and that's what's going to hold your knot in place. So I'm sure that's happened to you guys before. That's happened to me a ton where the knot just popped through to the back because I went in the same hole. So let's do it right. I'm going to come up on one side of this dot. Ooh, get a fuzzle. Do everything else right, pointing away from the needle, and I'm going to go across that dot. So I'm a few thread lengths away, a few of the fabric threads away, and then we'll finish it up. So all that fabric in the middle is going to prevent the knot from popping through. Unless you pulled like so hard that you broke the threads of the fabric, but that's unlikely to happen. So all right, so there's our good French knot. All right, the third thing you might be doing wrong is not holding down these loops. So I think this is probably a really common thing with French knots is that you get all these weird loopy ones. So I'll show you what I mean here. I'm going to try and recreate it. So everything else is going to be right though. So I'm doing my loops, and instead of holding them, so I'll hold them here, but instead of pulling them so they're down at the tip here, there's 2 different things in here they might be doing wrong. So I'm not pulling them tight. I'm just going to pull through, and now this is what I end up with. I end up with a crazy loopy mess, right? And the other way you might be getting these loopy messes is, you know, maybe at this part, maybe you did hold on to the knots and maybe you did pull them down to here, but now you pulled it through and you didn't, you aren't holding them down. So you might still, I'm going to see if I can recreate it. So you might still get some loopier than you want knots. So it's a little loose, right? Like if you compare this one to our other ones here, we got some loops, and this one is just like extra bad, right? So if you get like this sort of stuff happening, I know they're just not as pretty, they're not as consistent, right? That is most likely because you're not holding down your floss, like your loops are getting away from you. So what I do is, first of all, I hold the loops there. And the first step is, you know, you got to pull those loops so they're tight against the fabric. Don't let them get away from you. They're tight against the fabric. And before pulling the needle all the way through, I will, there we go. I will put my thumb right on the loops. And you can use a finger or whatever, but not everyone does this, but I find it helpful. So I put my finger right on those loops. Pull the needle the rest of the way through, and I'm still, you can see my thumb is still on those loops. Still on those loops while I pull this through. And right when I feel like that I'm all the way through, then I can let go. So I'm not letting those loops get away from me like this, right? So that's the last thing. Those are the 3 things you may be doing wrong here. So let me know, you guys, if you're doing any of these. I'm sure a lot of these feel familiar. They all feel familiar to me. I mean, especially these big loopy ones. You know, pulling those knots through to the back, that's a huge bummer when that happens. But that's that, you guys. So I think what I'm going to do now, let's move on to just try and stitch some of these up. So I'm going to get up a little higher so I stop hitting the camera here. And let's get through some of these guys up there. So I have plenty of floss yet. I will snip all these away later. But let's just kind of start stitching. So I'm going to treat these as my away knot, so I'm not going to, well, actually, you know what? I think I'm going to pretend I have a new piece of thread, and I'm going to weave in the backs of these stitches, and then I'm going to start here and work my way around. I don't think I'll have enough thread for that, but I'm going to pretend that I have enough, or that I don't have all these knots here. I'm going to pretend that this is the end of the floss here. Actually, maybe I'll cut those out right now. All right, so I'm going to weave in my end like I normally start my embroideries, and you'll see a lot more of this. All right, let's get rid of these French knots that I did here. So we'll snip that away. I think I'm going to actually snip in the backs of all of them. And we'll pull all these guys out. Bye, loopy knots. One of these has this one. This is the one that has the knot on the back because I pulled it through. All right. So because I'm pulling these out, they are kind of leaving some little holes in the fabric here. But there's another one I can't get out. That will all, once we get this wet to take this stick and stitch out, that will all kind of go away. There we go. We got all of them. All right, let's do these French knots for real now. So just kind of grab my needle here. Oh, Lynn, that's a good idea. Lynn said she did the tip of the pine bough first. Oh, that's smart. That would work. All right, so let's start here. I'm going on one side of that French knot, or one side of that dot. Wrap around, kind of going to the other side. Pull tight, and I'm going to put my thumb on there. And there we go, our first little real French knot there. And now I'm going to just jump around. Let's do this little cross stitch thing here. So this is just basically one stitch across and one stitch across the other way. These are like little baby snowflakes. All right, let's get this French knot, and then I think I'll do, I don't know, some back stitches or whatever for these. And then we'll do the French knots after. So French knots surprisingly take up a lot of thread too. So we'll be going through this blue pretty quickly. All right, so let's see. I could do this in a couple ways. I could do just like one big stitch across, like do all these stitches big and across, or I could go like to the center and do like 2 stitches. Why don't we do that? So in the example, here you go, we went all the way across, and I actually think that looks really cute. So all the way across like that. For this one, I'll do 2 stitches. I'll do 1 to the middle. I'll do like everything, like 1 stitch to the middle, and then we can see what that looks like too. So just 2 different looks. Takes a little bit longer, I suppose. You're making a bunch of stitches. And now I'm basically committing to do it this way for the rest of them, I think, just so that they stay consistent. That's fine. It's looking cute still. Oh, Rebecca's asking if it's cold here in Minneapolis. You know what? I haven't even checked the temperature, but it is gloomy. That's for sure. Gloomy, gloomy. So I don't know. I suspect it might snow later today. Oh, there's our doorbell just rang. I think we got a food order. Ugh, hold on, you guys. I gotta go get this. Oh, John's gonna get it. All right, never mind. We got a food order for later today here. All right, let's do the French knots all the way around here. Oh, Gretchen says company, LOL. Yeah, I mean, gosh, I know it's not that anymore, right? We don't get company anymore. It's so sad. Nope, just our food order. We've been ordering food online. Yeah, Pamela says real life. Yeah, but John just got out of the shower, so luckily that was good timing, so he's taking care of it. Ooh, I think I'm going to lose my floss here. Boo. I always do this when I get close to finishing my thread. It just gets a little... I accidentally get the thread falls out. Let's finish going around this little snowflakey. It would have been way more fun if if I ordered something interesting. It's just food. But it is nice that it comes here. That's the one benefit of, well, there's more than one benefit, but that's a benefit of living in a kind of a big city is you have services like that the food can just come to you. So that's nice. All right, one little guy left for this snowflake. I think it looks cute with the threads going towards the center. Gretchen is asking, do we use 3 strands for the French knots? I am. So again, the different number of strands basically yields different thicknesses of your stitches, right? So if I just did this with 1 strand, it would be like the daintiest little knot versus all 6 strands of the embroidery floss. You'd have a fatter knot. I'm just sticking with the 3 just because then I can keep kind of stitching all the other stitches with the same amount of thread. And I'm doing this whole thing with 3 strands just because it's kind of my go-to. If I wanted it to feel a little bit more delicate, kind of like what we did last month, then we can do just the 2 strands. It's kind of whatever you want. I know some people they wrap it around the needle 3 times. I just do twice for the French knot. So if you want a little fatter French knot, you could wrap it around maybe 3 times around your needle instead of just 1. All right, I think I have enough for maybe I have enough for this French knot and maybe these 2 guys, and then we'll weave in the end here, and then I gotta get my next piece of thread. Yeah. Since I have to do this whole big loop with French knots, that's why you need more than you think, at least at the end, because you can't make that loop when you don't have hardly any thread left. Hey, Pamela. Pamela said, hello, everyone. I made it. That's awesome. I appreciate it. I don't know what was in the food, though, because John must have ordered it this morning. So that's what's awesome, too. He ordered it this morning, and it already came, which is crazy. So COVID quarantine has been okay for the food. That's been nice. All right, yeah, I think I'm going to weave in the end now. Actually, I probably have enough to, let's see. I was thinking I maybe had enough to do these stitches, and you know what? I'm going to give it a go. Oh, Kathy's asking if I'll demonstrate the Colonial knot. Yeah, I should do that. I'll do the Colonial knot for all these other single ones. I'll show you the difference between that, and we can take kind of a close look at what a French knot looks like in comparison. So a Colonial knot is another knot, embroidered knot, and it's a lot of people like it. It does kind of, I think, feel more like a knot and less like, a small stitch holding down a couple loops. So it's actually, I think, is actually I kind of like it a little bit better than a French knot sometimes, but it's never my go-to just because it's just newer to me. So like, I'm so used to doing French knots that I just kind of always do those. But this is another knot alternative, so you can see whether you like this better. All right, so I almost lost my thread again. We'll weave in these ends, and then we'll do French knots around this snowflake, and then I'll do a Colonial knot for all those single snowflakes so you can see it a little bit better. There's not much to weave in here. I'm going to go one more time. There we go. And I'm going to grab my other strand of 3. So this is from earlier. Let's just get it through the end again. Oh, I do have my coffee. I'll have to get that. Oh, dang. Gretchen's saying, hopefully there's Reese's peanut butter cups in, I'm guessing you're saying, or maybe I missed a conversation, but if you're asking if there's Reese's peanut butter cups in my groceries, that would be amazing, but I don't think there are. Man, though, yesterday I really wanted jelly beans. We didn't have any chocolate or any candy or anything in the house. When we do, that's like all we eat. It's bad. We have no control over ourselves when it comes to food, so we have to just have good stuff. Otherwise, we'll just eat all the bad stuff. But I really wanted jelly beans yesterday, and Reese's peanut butter cups are amazing. Those would be awesome to have around, but it'd be bad news. We would eat all of them immediately, and that would be all she wrote. All right, so I'm going to weave in these ends, again, just to get this new thread started. And we'll do the French knots around here, and then a colonial knot, if I can remember how to do one. I always have to remind myself. Okay, there we are. So let's start with the French knots, and then we'll jump into the colonial. It's kind of fun to have this blue done already. I was saying yesterday, typically I probably would have waited probably to the end to do these, because I usually save my French knots for last, because what I don't want to have happen is I'm stitching another stitch and it gets caught. Like, let's just do it. It gets, ugh. Now I let these get away from me though. My loops, get back there, loops. But if a thread gets caught on a French knot like this, you know, I want to avoid that. That's kind of annoying. That'll happen every once in a while. So I like saving the French knots to last, if it makes sense. Like, if it's in a spot that I should just do now, I'll do it. But in my head, I kind of leave that to later. But it's pretty getting this like little border on now. Feels like we're getting a lot done. Rebecca's saying I did not order candy. I don't know. Maybe there's some candy surprise in there. That'd be pretty awesome. Because I was whining to John yesterday how I wanted jelly beans. Or that could have been a couple days ago. But I doubt there's candy in there. All right, a couple more and we'll do that colonial knot. Oh, that one got a little loopy. Okay, the last one. So this is me stitching these French knots at full speed, basically. All right, now the colonial knot. So we'll do the same thing where we cross over the stitch. All right, I'll get a little bit closer for this too. So let's get down here again. Okay, a colonial knot. So now here's the first difference right away. Hold on, I'm going to try and stop shaking. All right, the first difference right away is we are pointing towards the fabric. So French knot is away, colonial knot is towards. So I can't grab this. Jeez. There we go. No. There we go. Oh my God, I could not grab that thread. So I'm holding the thread here. I don't know if you guys can see very well, but I'm holding it like with a couple, like 2 inches there. We are going to make make a push away motion. This is going to look like a figure 8 when we're done, but all right, I'm pointing the needle towards the fabric now instead of away, and I'm going to just kind of push my thread sideways. So I'm on the left side, I'm going to the right side, just pushing it sideways. All right? And now I'm going to kind of hold the needle there, and I'm going to come up and back around like so. So now I have this loop. So let's do that again. I'm pushing aside, then I'm coming up and around the back, basically. Okay? One more time. Pushing aside, I'm coming to the other side of this top area here. And then we're going to go towards the thing again. We're going to pull our piece tight and pull through. So there is the colonial knot. So again, pretty much looks awfully similar. It is a little bit more of a knot and less of like loops, I think. Although this one looks kind of funny, but it's almost like a half hitch or something like that. Oh no, John popped into YouTube and says I didn't buy any candy. Sad. All right, I'm gonna get these two little stitches and then we'll do that colonial knot again. If you want to give that a try. I know some people have said that they like the colonial knot because it seems a little tighter. I don't know. I'm just not as used to it. But it is kind of fun to do. And you can do it pretty quickly too. So, all right. Again, pointing towards, push out of the way, and loop around the back. And you're still pulling tight. It'll feel a little bit differently when you're pulling it tight to your needle because the makeup of the knot is different at that point. But there we go. There is our colonial knot. I think I'm doing it right. All right. Push away, loop around the back, and back in. Cool. So there we are. All right, I'm going to get a little bit higher again so I don't whack you guys again. All right, let's do this last big one. I'll do colonial knots for all of these ones. So we're like half French knots, half colonial. We'll do it that way. That'll be kind of fun. Oh man, Kimberly says John's probably just saving to buy us some really yummy chocolates for Christmas. So we are actually going to buy. He makes websites for people, and he's working on a website for a candy place in town that makes we got some samples, and holy guacamole, they are some good caramels and just like some old-fashioned type candy but redone. So like caramel and then like those caramel swirls with nougat and like that, basically like the angel food candy that I talked about last year that my grandma used to make, but without the chocolate, like that foam. It's where you basically mix a bunch of sugar together. Like, I remember the recipe. It's basically corn syrup, like 1 part corn syrup, 1 part like brown sugar, 1 part like normal white sugar. And yeah, heat that up or whatever. And, okay, I'm going to do colonial nuts. And then you put baking soda and vinegar in. So it poofs up, right? That causes like that poofy reaction. So it hardens, but it's it's still like a foam structure to it, but it's hard. So she makes some of those too. So we are planning on getting some more of that. But her company's called Burnt Sugar. So you should check that out. I don't think John's new website is up or anything like that. And I think she has a website now, and I think they're open for real. But yeah, Burnt Sugar if you want some amazing yums. And the packaging is so adorable. All right, I think these are kind of turning out a little goofy looking. I might not be doing these quite perfectly. Kimberly says, my daughter used to be an assistant manager for our local candy shop. I swear, I gained 5 pounds the first month she worked there. Ugh, yes. Yep, that'd be dangerous. Yeah, I don't know how I'd be able to work at a place like that. Because I can't control not eating that stuff. Too yummy, especially caramels. I used to work at an apple orchard and made caramel apples basically all day long and made the caramel for it, and that was the best. All right, two more. Oops, loop there. Okay, we'll get this guy, and there is one little guy hiding down here, so I think I'm going to travel. I have enough thread. I'm going to travel in the backs of all these stitches that are here already, and then get that guy in the way. Okay, so I think Paula is asking about the snowflake. So this one I did towards the center of all of them. You could do a little French knot in the middle, which would be kind of cute too. And then in the example one is going all the way across. So you can do either or. I thought I'd give them both a try. So these ones are going all the way across in one big stitch. And then these ones I went just to the center. So they're all coming toward the center, like kind of, I don't know, more like a flower. I actually think I like the going all the way across a little bit better, but I thought I'd try it the other way too. All right, I'm going to travel down here now. I'm going to just go in the backs of all these stitches. Instead of making one big giant jump, we're going to just go in the backs like so. And we'll get this little guy here. There is more blue, like all of this bow is blue and some of this stuff down here is blue, but we'll do that later. Okay, I think that's fine. I think let's wrap this thread up. I mean, I have a little bit left, but I don't know. I think I'm going to I'm not going to jump down and do this other stuff quite yet. We'll do that later, so I'm going to sacrifice this little bit of blue, I think, that I have left here. This floss color is called Winter Morning, so that fits with this piece. Oh, John said the candy company, or it's basically like a caramel and like these old school. Well, at least to me, like the type of stuff that Grandma used to make, and then like those yummy caramels. It's burnt sugar MN, so for Minnesota. So it's probably, my guess would be burntsugarmn.com maybe. All right, so there we go. That felt like a lot done. That's awesome. So, all right, I'm thinking I just kind of work my way through this. So now that I have stitches here, I think I might just go up and do this extra little gray bit. There's a little bit down here, but we'll get to that when we're in that area. Oh, and let's look. I'm not using my needle minder. There we go. So it does look like I have a little bit of floss here yet. This looks like plenty enough to do that. So why don't let's just get that little bit, because we're going to forget that if I don't do that. And then maybe we do this text. Let's do this Dear Santa and just get this whole entire letter thing done. And then maybe let's focus on these little guys again. These fronds. Man, and then once we're done with that, we just have all this bottom stuff to do yet. So, all right, I like that. And why don't we take a little coffee break? So I gotta show you. This is one of my favorite mugs. We got a few mugs when we were in San Francisco from Heath Ceramics, and they're some of my favorite mugs. So I hope you guys got your coffee going and yummy drinks. It's always nice to chill, work on a craft, drink some yummy coffee, and just have a nice Saturday afternoon. Oh no, the fronds are not a herringbone stitch. That would be a fun one to do sometime, though. I don't think we've done a herringbone stitch here before, but no, they are single chain stitches. So just a whole tightly packed, a whole pile of single chain stitches, which are kind of like lazy daisy stitches. And then we stitched a back stitch down the middle when we were done. So it's just a whole pile of single chain stitches. I think it's turning out really cute. Needle. Forgot what we're doing for a moment. All right, we're gonna get this little tiny bit up at the top. So this is the top of the letter. It's like the tip of the envelope. I'm doing my weaving in 3 times. All right, oops, I kind of wove in on the opposite side than I thought. So we're gonna start on this side. I'm not gonna do a reverse chain stitch. I'm just gonna start. We'll do the stabbing and going through the loop way of doing it. This is a little clumsier, but I don't know, it feels the most familiar still. I think I am going to put an anchor stitch at the top of this letter, though. Just because it's kind of a point here, and I don't want my loop to kind of fall down. So we'll put a tiny anchor stitch here, and then I'll come up on the other side. I'll come up like right in the middle again, and I'll work my way down. All right, and then I'm going to come back the other way. So now that stitch at the top is locked in, so it's never going to slide down, even though it looks basically the same. So that'll be nice. Let's do 2 more, so we have the same going up on both sides. Oh, oh, that's right. I talked all about. My mom came on. She says, "Hi, I think that blooming of the French press works." So I talked about that yesterday. How we were gonna. I forgot. I talked all about how that TikTok coffee guy was saying how to make a better French press coffee, which is what we do, and Mom must have given it a try. She says that blooming of the French press works. So that's when he said to put just a little bit of put the coffee grounds in the bottom, and then just put a little bit of hot water in there and let it bloom for like 30 seconds or something. Just let it sit there. I don't remember what I said. I don't know if I was supposed to stir it up then or stir it up after it blooms. I'm gonna have to watch the video again. But anyway, you let it bloom, which just means you let it just sit there for a little, and it poofs up kind of a little bit as it gets wet. And then you pour the rest of the water in after. So, yep, that was kind of the big difference of French press. I'm gonna have to do a comparison. I'm sure I'll make some more coffee when we're done here. Oop, missed the last thread. Okay. Plop. Now what? All right, so we just finished that guy up there. Oh yeah, let's do this Dear Santa. I'm wondering maybe well, trying to make a plan here. Kind of thinking maybe we start on this side. I think I'll weave into the backs of these stitches, and then maybe I'll jump down and we'll start on this side and work our way this way, and then we can come down and then go back and forth with these stitches. I don't know if, I'll make it in one round of floss with that, but although I do have this, so this is a leftover red from earlier, and it is actually pretty long, so maybe we can do all of that all at once. Oh, where'd it go? Out of my hands. Okay. My head was like, where's my needle? It's right where it should be. Okay, so we're going to do it backwards, which I don't typically do, but I think for the sake of mapping it out, my path here, I'm going to do it backwards. So, all right, I'm going to weave into the backs of the stitches right here, and then I think maybe I'll jump down and do this A, and we'll get this little comma here. So in the photo, like, I have a little dot here, but I don't think I put it in this black and white. So you can put a little French knot here with the comma if you want, or you don't have to. I think maybe I'll put it in. All right, weaving into the backs right here. One, two, three. All right. Let's start. So I'm going to just do this A. I think maybe I'll just do the one stitch of this A and then get that comma. This is just, starting with the A is a little less of a leap. This is a little long here. There we go. Then jumping all the way down to that comma. So I'm still using the 3 strands, so this text is actually going to be pretty kind of fat and bulky. If you want it more dainty, you could stitch this with even just like 1 strand of floss. That'd be kind of cool. I should have maybe come down gone from the top to the bottom on this comma. My French knot's not gonna have a lot of fabric in front of it. I'll come up on this side. So I'm gonna do a little French knot here. I'm actually gonna go in this direction. Oops, and I think I'm getting a huge knot on the back. Ah, boo. Just thread's getting in the way of itself. Okay. We're just gonna make a little French knot by this comma. Oops. That's kind of cute. So either way, you can do that comma or not, like that. I think I'm going to do these all in one big stitch versus, I could divide up like this N in a couple stitches, but I think we're just going to do big old stitches. See what that looks like. Usually I would probably do 2, but I don't know. I'm feeling the 1 stitch today. Colleen says that I love having you for Saturday sewing. I know it's fun to do these every once in a while. These Saturday stitch-alongs. Definitely, typically on here longer during the Saturday stitch-alongs. Sometimes it's just nice to move that project along a little bit more. Man, I'm getting like these wrapped up on each other. Soon I'll be past that point. There's a little part of here that keeps wanting to make a knot. Oh yeah, this is quick, just doing it in one big stitch. The S's I'll have to put a pile more stitches in, like all these rounded shapes, but these straight shapes are nice to just doing the big stitches. Getting her done. Rebecca's sitting here with unbloomed coffee. Yeah, I feel like now I have to do an actual experiment. Like I feel like I have to grind the coffee the exact same way and then do two different things of the we'll start up here. Two different goes at the coffee where I do everything else exactly the same, but I just do it our normal way, and then I do it with this whole blooming it first way and see which I like better. I think there's too many variables in what we have our coffee right now. Like I don't know if John, like what size he ground the coffee, or oops, see this little knot again. I feel like I need to do like a true taste test experiment. I think that'd be like a little bit more coffee than I need during the day. This is already our second French press of it. Actually, John got up way earlier than me today, so he basically had the whole first one. I don't know if I could make two more. That'd be a lot. That'd be a lot of coffee. Maybe that'll be a tomorrow project, doing a coffee taste test. That'd be kind of fun. Alright, I'm using a lot of little stitches to get around this S, just so it has that curved look to it. It's not really curved, it's really a bunch of straight stitches together, but the more of those you put next to each other and they're all short, the more of a curved impression you're going to get. Kimberly's asking my mom if she taught me to embroider, and I don't have a good memory of learning to embroider, but I remember for cross stitch, which is like where the embroidery started, was doing cross stitch first. I had a babysitter come over, and she had a cross stitch, and after that, I think we got a cross stitch from like a little ornament design or something from Joanne. So I feel like I learned by watching the babysitter do it once. And then I don't know how that switched to embroidery eventually. I mean, cross stitch is a style of embroidery, but I don't know. I feel like I knew the stitches and stuff before I started all the penguin and fish patterns. so I didn't feel like I had to learn all this, which meant I learned it at some point, but I can picture learning cross stitch, but not specifically like this style of embroidery. We're almost done. This text is going a whole lot faster than I thought. A lot of times this just takes forever, I feel like, doing this little text. But we're just about done. Then I can do the running stitch. So the running stitch is another stitch that works really well using the sewing method, and that's where you go in and out in the same motion before pulling your needle all the way through. I'll show you that again. However, it is, again, a little bit more difficult with this stick and stitch to do sewing style embroidery versus the stabbing, which is what we're doing now, where I stick the needle straight up and down and go all the way in and all the way out in two separate motions. Oops. And I think you get better accuracy with the stabbing method, and since I have all these drawn out perfectly, I'll probably do it in the stabbing method. But typically, a running stitch, you can do the sewing method and actually get a whole pile of stitches on the needle at the same time. So that's nice. But in my case, I probably won't be doing that, but I'll show you how. Oh, hey, Irene. Nice seeing you. So Irene's from Greece, and she says they're currently in quarantine for 2 weeks. Or she's on the second week of that. It's just so crappy everywhere. Stressful. Well, I hope you're doing okay. All right, it's traveled in the back, and I'm going to come up. So here's that little dashed line. That's kind of a running stitch. And I'll show you the sewing method first. I'm just going to go in this direction because it'll be easier for me to go from right to left. So, all right, I'm going to go in there, and then we're going to come up at the next line, and I can actually go down again and come up again. It's a little difficult, like I said, through all this stick and stitch, but this is the sewing method when you can just go in and out like this, and with the running stitch I could just go in and out and in and out until my whole needle's loaded up. It'll be a little difficult to push through with that much, but you can get a couple stitches at once, so it goes really quick. See there, I got 2 stitches at once. So that's the sewing method versus the stabbing method, which is going straight down and then straight up. That'd take a lot longer. So let's do that sewing method again. Out and in. You want like a little looser fabric in there so I can be able to get back up. This is also very similar to hand quilting. Same kind of motion, really. Ugh, it's just a little more difficult though to get the needle through and stuff. So I'm not gonna do that anymore, but it's actually looking really nice. So that's the running stitch in the sewing and the stabbing method. I think the running stitch is really meant to do in the sewing method though. It's just quick and easy. Oh my gosh, I cannot hold onto the needle. Oh, Paula, I think even on the lives, Paula says that she missed the lettering and she wanted to see that. I think even in the lives here, I think you can rewind during the live. I think you can do that. So you could go back and watch that quick and then zoom ahead to where we are next if you wanted. All right, one more line like this, and then we got that little third line here. I think, though, I'm actually instead of having a little visual leap down like from here to here on the back, I think I'm going to jump to here, travel on the backs of these stitches, and then start it up here. I know that's getting real dang picky, but we're going to do it. Then I only have like this little leap here instead of like a big visible one lower. All right, I think I have enough thread for all this. I'm going to I'm rotating it again just so it's more comfortable to hold while I stitch. Oh yes, Kimberly, that's a good comparison too. This is doing that in and out like that it's very similar to sashiko too. I think with sashiko, you're typically making one part, like you're controlling the spaces in between the running stitch a little bit more. So like I think you make a big stitch on one side and then a small stitch on the other side. I think that's kind of a little bit more how sashiko is, but exactly the same stitch. You're just going in and out, in and out. So yeah. We did a little of that sashiko stitching on that Aurifil block from a few months ago. That was fun. Yeah, just with the stabilizer here, it's just a little bit more difficult. So really, this might have been a good design to trace, because then, because a lot of these stitches are like the chain stitch, these are single chain stitches, and the running stitch, all of those work really well with the sewing method, that in and out motion method. And, it's a little bit more difficult to do with the stabilizer on, so it would have maybe been a good idea to trace it, but I just always err on the side of using the stick and stitch because it's so fast. I just stick it on and I can start stitching. Some people really like that tracing and taking their time with the start of it, with the transfer, but meh, I want to get stitching. All right, I'm going to travel on the backs of these stitches here. And we'll get that last little row, and we'll have plenty of thread to do that with. Ooh, this I'm going to do kind of like a back stitch instead, just because it's going to be hard to come up, like with all these other stitches in the way. So I'm going to come up on the other side of it and kind of tuck it in here. So it's kind of like a back stitch instead of a running stitch, and then I'll come up and do the rest. Oh, Kimberly says there's a great new book that shows basically how to use sashiko stitching to patch clothing. I think I might have seen that. I know that's definitely a popular way lately to do it. So yeah, so you're just laying basically a piece of fabric on what you want to repair, and then doing a whole pile of like sashiko, like these running stitches over the top of all of it. To hold down the patch. And there's a way of quilting when you just do that. You just keep laying down patches and you're just attaching them by running stitches. It's just, or like sashiko stitches. It's just really pretty, I think. Be a fun project. All right, we are done with that letter. So I think it'd be fun. You could actually write some more stuff in here. You could write, it could even be a letter to like a loved one. Like if you wanted to give this to someone, you could say like, dear, whoever, it could say, dear Justin, I miss seeing you. Christmas 2020 or something, I wish I could see you this year. Or, it could be like a little personal note to someone too. Since I gave away his identity earlier, might as well keep giving it away. All right. needle can live there. Okay, where are we at? Just kind of rejiggering it in the piece here. I think next up, it's time for this next frond here. I think we're going to move our... Oh, see, look, I did it again. Stay there. Let's move our little needle minder over to here so it's out of our way. I'm going to grab another sip of coffee. And let's do... Actually, I was thinking let's do this frond and then this frond, but now I'm thinking I could do... Yeah, I'm going to do this instead. I'm going to start down here, do the frond all the way up here, and then just keep continuing all the way to this one, and then do the back stitch back down and the back stitch back down. That's our plan. We're going to do this as if it's like one really big one. Yeah, I'm ready for that. All right, and I am going to probably use a little bit more thread than usual again. We'll grab a little bit more just because we use these, with these chain stitches, we've been using them up so fast. So I'm gonna kind of cheat and use like double the thread I normally do. It'll be a little awkward stitching, but it'll be less weaving, less starting and stopping with this at the ends of the thread. Ugh, there we go. Oh, I can't even hardly reach. Okay, there's our first one. 2, and let's find another. There we are. Okay, see, that was pretty quick for a long piece like this. This would have been horrible, like trying to pull the 3 strands apart separately. That would have been just really difficult, and we did that so fast without any knots. And I think I could have done that faster too if I was really in a race, I guess. Be an odd race. Yep, Kimberly, the needle minder is magnetic, so there's a magnet on both sides, so the needle can go on both sides really easily. Let's use the thread conditioner again. All right, there we are. Whoa, okay, jumped. Here. There we are. And yeah, so I think I'm going to weave in the backs of these stitches right here, and then we'll just work our way up both, and then stitch our way back down the center. So this is going to be a while. This is going to take some time, I think, to finish all these. And I might actually use the sewing method for this because I think it's going to go faster and be a bit easier. But we'll see. We'll see if it's actually easier. Because again, it's a little bit more difficult with all the stick and stitch stabilizer stuff. Just trying to grab as many strands as I can here. I'll lock this in. I don't think my threads are all even. I'm just going to run my hand up here again. Like I feel like one strand's acting up. All right, we're fine now. Okay, let's do it. Oh, let's kind of start here. This is kind of like a little cheater one. This is like an open-ended chain stitch. So the start and end aren't in the same point, but that's fine. You just, ooh, fuzzle. Ugh, there we go. you just, here's the one side. I'm going to just go end at the other point, and we'll make it normally. So this is not the sewing method of doing this. This is a little awkward, so I'll switch to the sewing method next. I just wanted to get this funny one done. There we go. And anchor stitch that down. All right, I got some fuzzles on the side here. I'm going to just trim those off there. They keep getting caught in my thread. All right, so I might keep rotating pretty often too. We'll see. All right, so sewing method, I'm going back in the same hole and then coming up at that end point. There, that looks good. We'll wrap the thread underneath. Ugh, yeah, this thread's just going to be annoying this long. It's catching itself through. There we go. Gosh. It's just totally caught on itself. Ugh, there. I don't like working with this long a thread. This is when the knots happen and all the dumb stuff happens, but hopefully we'll get a handle on it. All right, I'm going to actually do the sewing method to get to the next spot. So I'm making that little anchor stitch, but as I'm doing the anchor stitch, I'm coming up at the next spot. There we go. And I think the sewing method means that I'm going to be rotating this a lot too. Not yet though. Okay, in the same hole. Coming up at that next point. Let's wrap the thread around the back. And there we are. All right. Anchor stitch and coming up back in the middle there. I don't. Kimberly's asking on YouTube if I use fray check on the edges of your needlework or sew a seam along the outside edges. So for these little projects, I don't really do that. So fray check is like a liquid that you can run along the edge, and it kind of, I mean, I guess it's some sort of glue really, right? It'll just kind of hold everything in place so it won't fray. Or you can sew around the edge. So I have done the sewing around the edge before, but typically, like when I'm doing this, I use a big enough piece of fabric that or like the fabric I'm using, I know isn't going to totally fray, into my piece. So I usually just don't bother. But, oh, whoops, I didn't do that right. Getting ahead of myself in the sewing method. I have to go in the same hole. I'm going totally backwards here. But I sometimes do that if I know a piece is going to have to be around a while before I use it. So like if I was doing, and if I'm going to be handling it a lot. So if I was doing like maybe a whole series of these for a quilt and I knew I was going to be, I don't know, handling them and all that, then I maybe would sew an edge around it. Just sew like a zigzag or something around just like even a straight stitch, and then in theory it won't fray along the way, but I don't know. Not typically. If I had a different type of fabric that super frayed, like, I don't know, like a knit, for example. A knit won't fray, but it'll start unraveling a little bit. That I might go around. Okay, back up to the center. So I'm not pulling these too tight again because I do want that teardrop shape to the stitches still, not just like a tight double line. Although I suppose that would look pretty good too for an evergreen bow. It'll feel good to get these guys done. I think this is pretty much the bulk of the embroidery is doing these evergreens. I think actually it's gonna feel good getting the satin stitches in the candy cane done. I think that's the last little big piece after this. Curious how many stitches I'll be able to get out of this, because I did take a pretty long piece. Come on, get in that spot. So this is going faster, I think, doing the sewing method here, but I don't know. I like doing the stabbing method. This feels a little awkward as I'm doing it, just because I don't practice this way of doing it very often. So I guess this is practice, right? Maybe by the time we're up at the top, it'll feel like second nature. We're approaching the need for a new piece of floss already. I know it looks like a lot of floss yet, but it goes quick on these big stitches. Oh yeah, Teresa says you can serge along the edges. I have an old serger from a zillion years ago. I think we had it when I was a kid. Like, I think I took a sewing class at Joann Fabrics or something, and we got this serger and used it, but I think it's broken. I think the timing's all off. We brought it in to get fixed once, and they're like, oh, we don't do sergers here, and it's just sitting around. I'd like to kind of get that guy out and see if I can figure it out. That's a whole different world, though. I don't know much about sergers and cover stitchers or all those things. All those guys that have tons of thread happening at the same time. It's on my list. To figure out and figure out doing projects with it too. These are turning out nice, though. Nice and loose, kind of how I was wanting them. I think once we take those stick and stitch off, they'll actually be a little looser, but I think that's fine. Getting there with the thread. So in the bundle, I did put 2 skeins of this green in, because I know this does eat up the floss. And I'm using the words thread and floss interchangeably. I really just mean the embroidery floss. But yeah, so I put 2 skeins in the bundle so you have enough. Yep, I think I can only get a couple more. Maybe just one more. Oh, Kimberly says I bought a serger and have never taken it out of the box. Uh, Between ordering and getting, some friend told me she had nightmares about it, so she's been nervous. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same way about sergers, so that makes me think I should get it out and try and conquer it a little bit. All right, I think this is going to be my last stitch. I don't think I have enough here. It looks like a lot of thread here, but probably not enough to go all the way there and all the way back and do all the loops and everything. I think that's going to be a struggle. So I'm going to just end this one right here with my anchor stitch. Let's weave in the ends to just grab a bunch of these backs of these loops. And we'll start that second long piece. Oop, and I set that down again. Let's put it on the needle minder. Okay, here's that second piece. Oh, interesting. Christy said that she watched a video once where someone was using like the term backstitch and running stitch interchangeably. Ugh, yep, those are not the same in my head at all. Oh, Dawn says that she had a fourth of her first green left. So yes, you can actually do it in one skein, in one of these green skeins, but I always try and have extra floss just because I don't know if everyone's going to just use the 3 strands of thread. If you would use like all 6 strands, first of all, you'd have the fattest evergreen frond. It actually might be a little difficult to stitch if you use all 6, but if someone did all 6, then they might have just enough of the green floss. I think when we were doing this example piece, we were getting pretty close to the end of our one skein, so we threw in an extra one. So I might not actually end up needing that extra, but it's there. So you might not end up needing it either, but there's a little security in having that extra skein, just in case you do need it, because it'd be a bummer to just have like 2 more stitches and not having the floss for it. Okay, let's get back to it. Ooh, yeah, it feels funny to have this much floss again. Close enough. Oh, Dawn said she used 3 strands as well, so. Alright, good. That's awesome that you had a lot left. Oops, let's do this in the same motion. Forgot we're doing the sewing method for this. There we go. We're getting to that one little snowflake that we did down here. Ugh, Rebecca, I'm glad you feel better. Yeah, new medication. That was always a deal. Oh, Colleen says more left over for pom-poms. Yep, I'll have extra floss for more little. Can make some little baby green pom poms. That's I like making. I have a pom pom maker, and a lot of times with some extra floss from projects, I make little pom poms for like wrapping gifts and stuff with them. Man, I didn't do that one very well. There we go. Oh, and I almost went the wrong direction again. There are a ton of lazy daisy stitches, and they're really close together, so uh, it's a little awkward doing these, but you do get like that super pretty full look to these evergreens. It just sounded like I think some snow maybe just fell from the roof. I don't know if you guys heard that scratchiness. I thought, is John like shoveling? But I don't think so. I think snow fell from the roof. Oh, maybe that means it's getting warmer. It is supposed to get a little warmer next week, I think. Like to the, I don't know, 40s, 50s again. So that'll be nice. Everything is covered in pretty white snow right now. There. Getting little knots. So I think I'm still going to plan to do some of this cleanup again. I know I kind of was going off yesterday on how I want to curate my closets a little bit more. I think I might basically take the day off of doing work. We work all the time, like we work every day, but I might just chill and clean out closets instead. That'll make everything feel clean and nice and put together. And I don't know. I think that's a kind of a way of procrastination too, but like to just feel like it's the whole like clean space, clean mind sort of thing, and I like that. And we'll see what John got from the grocery store to deal with all that too. And I mentioned that I wanted to get some of that soup. I wonder if John would go for that today too. That would be good. Some of that pozole soup from this restaurant by us that's amazing, and we haven't had it forever. But what I really wanted is to get a big bag of rice from the grocery store next door, the Mexican grocery store. We'll see. Maybe we'll take a little field trip in the car today. I don't really like doing that. That's why we order stuff online, though, so we don't have to go anywhere. Because cases are way up here, too, apparently, lately. Ugh. Alright, we're on my last 3 stitches here, though, before jumping up to the next frond, or the next bow. Still can't get it right. Is John eating all your ice cream? Oh man, does that mean he got ice cream? I don't know if he got ice cream. Rebecca was asking if John ordered food. I don't know what he ordered, but she's like, is he eating all the ice cream? And John says, no, I gotta wait till I'm done here. So maybe that means that he actually did get ice cream. Ugh, maybe I want to just sit and eat ice cream all day. That sounds like a better day than cleaning the closets. That'd be good. Coffee and ice cream. That sounds like a day. We could make a day out of just that, right? Gosh, I feel like I'm almost out of thread already. All right, here's the last stitch besides our little extra gray stitch on the top of this one, except for the back stitch. But we're going to jump up to the next frond right away. That seems like a better pathway than going all the way back down. There we go. So we'll get a few stitches on this one before having to switch again. That's looking nice and poofy and fuzzy. I like it. Speaking of fuzzy, that was really fun doing the turkey work stitch on our Tyranno dress up that we've been kind of working on here. I think we got to do more turkey stitch at some point again. That was really fun. Turkey work or turkey stitch gives you a really lovely poofy stitch. I wonder if that's nearby. Yeah, it is. So here's I have all the floss underneath it and stuff, but here's that other project that we're working on, dressing up our little Tyranno. It comes with those patterns to, when you get the Tyranno kit, it comes with that digital download of different clothes you can put on them. And here's the turkey work stitch up there. You can see like really close, so maybe you can't, it's all kind of hidden, but there's other little stitches in here holding all this down. But look, it looks just like a little poof. Oh, that's fun. All we have left here he's got ice skates on, and I think we might do a couple little poofs on his ice skate as well. But that was a lot of fun. I liked doing that turkey work stitch. My plan was just to do some chain stitches like this, like a lazy daisy stitch on top of his hat, but someone mentioned turkey work and we gave that a go, and I just love how it turned out. Yeah, because when we've been ordering rice at like just the grocery store that we do pick up at, it's always just like a tiny bag, but I want like the mega, like, the like 20-pound bag, or I don't know, whatever it is, the big giant bag of rice. I would like to get one of those, and I think we could probably only get those at the Mexican or the Asian grocery stores here. I don't think the other grocery stores carry a big bag like that, so it would be nice to get one of those. But I would love to learn how to make that pozole soup. But dang, I think the stuff that they have at this restaurant, it's like cooking for days, and oh my god, that sounds amazing right now. Alright, I think this is my last stitch. I don't think I can get another one out of here, so let's anchor this down, and we'll weave in our end. But we got a few little guys from this on this frond, or the bow. I don't like calling it a bow. That doesn't feel right, calling these evergreen boughs. I suppose that's probably what they are. Sticks. They're sticks. Ooh, I almost cut the back of the stitch there. Ugh, I gotta be a little more careful. All right. Oh, and I put my needle in the wrong spot again. All right, let's take a look so far. I have to get a whole new thing of thread, but we are getting there. All right, let's see. What do we got left on this skein? Oh, tons yet. Yeah, I think we're going to make this in the first skein too. You know what? I think I'm just going to pull all the way to the end. It is going to be another really long piece. We won't need it all, but I'll just have like a tiny little piece left. So I'm just going to pull my 3 strands from all this, and we'll have a super duper long one again. Actually, you know what? I can't even reach this one way through. So you know what? I'm gonna cut it. We're gonna make it this long. So I do actually have a good enough piece left for using on a different project. There. If I can pull my shoulder all the way back, my arm all the way back, and I still can't pull it all the way out of the floss, that's too long. Yeah. Yep. This is the max that I'd like to go. There we are. So that side, I'm not sure we'll need it. Yeah, we might. That's still a lot of stitches. All right, let's run it through. Yep, or a pom-pom. That's probably what it'll end up being, a little pom-pom. Squeaky. Okay. There we are. Just weaving in the end again. It looks nice from the back, I think. I'm going to trim these off. They were at different lengths. Yeah, let's trim that extra long bit off here. I don't want it popping to the front. Okay, let's get these guys done. Oh, we still have to go. Oh, yeah, we'll probably need the other thread because we still have to do the back stitches down all of them. Forgot about that. Down the middle. That makes it like that nice, clean finish down the center. So all these edges, like I'm not connecting them perfectly. So we're actually going to cover them up, and it'll be nice and clean with these little back stitches. All right. Hey, Gail. Thanks for joining us. Gail says she's popping in for a few minutes here. All I can think about, guys, right now is the pozole soup. It really is amazing. Ooh, I think the other thing I'd like to do today is, talked about this a little bit yesterday, I'd like to repot those plants. Maybe I can get that going today. I can't really do that outside or in the garage or anything, so that's a little bit of a challenge. I do have this little fold-up wagon that happens to be in the house. I had some packages in there, but I'm thinking of putting like a plastic bin in this wagon and then trying to switch the unpot and then repot some plants in that in the wagon and in the bin in the wagon. I think that's kind of my game plan. And then just do it like right in the entryway. I think that'll be the least messy spot. That's out of the way. But it'd be nice to get those done. We got a couple new planters and new dirt, new soil, potting soil, and I think a couple of our plants that are kind of look unhappy, I think will be much happier. Get them all set for the winter. Colleen, that may have to be the plan. John's like, can we order it, that pozole soup, and then pick it up and then get the rice right after? Oh, we may have to do that. That'd be a treat. I think they do pick up, yeah. And then, gosh, I don't know how that works now. In COVID world. That's the busiest place ever, too. That's not a place that you want to be standing in line, or the parking lot's just the worst, too. So it's not that enjoyable picking up food from there, but sounds delicious, though. Ooh, I do have a new kitchen gadget that I got. I suppose you can call it a gadget. Maybe I was talking about this, but my mom showed me these last time we visited, and I got a couple of them. But they're called, I don't know. Have you guys? Let me know if you've heard of these before. But they're called super cubes, like super cubes. But soup is spelled like, SOUP. So super cubes. They're basically like silicone ice trays, but the ice trays are like the size of like a small little brick. So it's like a 2-cup brick. So there's 4 in the silicone thing, and then it's stiff on the top, but the underneath part is flexible like silicone. And you can put soup stock in there, and it'll come out as just like a cube, and then you can put all those cubes in a bag. And we actually got some reusable, like super large, like 2-gallon silicone bags, so I don't have to use the freezer Ziploc bags all the time and throw them out. So I got a couple of these 2-gallon silicone freezer bags, and then these super cubes, 2 of these super cube ice things. And I made soup the other day, and I kept a little bit for the fridge, but the rest I put into these super cube freezer trays. And now all I have to do when I want some soup is I can just grab one of those cubes and throw it in the microwave, or bring it to the office and just throw that in. And what I'm especially excited about is with soup stock, when I make soup stock again, I can just make it in those cubes, and then I just have to throw those cubes into the pot. I don't have to, like right now I'm putting soup stock in ball jars and freezing it, and I keep breaking them, and I have to wait for them to thaw, and now I don't have to do that anymore with these super cubes, so I'm pretty stoked about that. Oh, and Marie says that she has them, and she uses fresh herbs in them too. So what's got me thinking of them right now is that I want to make a whole pile of beans and rice. Like I have some pinto beans that I would get more of those from the Mexican grocery store too, I think. But I like making like refried beans, and so I could make a pile of those and even mix them with rice right away. Like make some beans and rice, and I was like, oh, I could freeze those in those cubes too, so we could have like whole like cubed meals in the freezer that I could just plop, because our problem is not taking the time to make meals, and then we just eat whatever crap we can grab, or we order pizza or something. So if we just had those like pre-made meals that we literally all just have to take out and put in the microwave, and there's like nothing else to do, we might eat that more. So that's what I want to do. I've already made soup, and I want to make a whole lot more because I go through soup pretty quickly. So a whole different things of soup, and then some soup stock, and I'd love to do like those beans and rice all frozen in there too. But yeah, I got plans for those, so that's why I want to get more rice too. But the size of them are perfect. They're just cute too. I could put like and there's lines in it, so you know what 1 cup is and what 2 cups are, and there's metric, fluid ounce, or maybe it's not metric. Maybe it's just fluid ounces are on there too. Yeah, it's just fluid ounces, cups and fluid ounces, and I just want to organize my freezer and fill it up with yummy food. Just trying to make things easy. It's all that prep work that takes forever, though. But beans and rice, just making a gigungous thing of that. That shouldn't take forever, I don't think. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have just enough thread for these two, I think. Then we still have to do the back stitches down. Ugh. Yeah, I think I have enough for just this one more. It's going to be tight, though. It's going to be annoying doing this one. A little easier with this sewing method, though. All right, last evergreen chain stitch, except for these 2 little gray bits. Let's lock that down. I probably could get a couple back stitches out of there, but I'm going to start that just as a fresh idea. Let's weave in the end here. And I'll get the other half of my floss, and we'll just quickly get those back stitches done, and then I'll come back and do the gray tops to this right away too, just so, so we're brushing over the whole embroidery and getting it done and not leaving little areas to forget about. Okay, other green. Oh, that's a good idea, too. Kimberly says I make double of some meals and then freeze the other half. Yeah, I just need to get more in that habit. Usually, what's nice about this soup, which is the only thing I've used the super cubes for so far, is, oh, see, look, this is all knotted up and I haven't even done anything yet. Okay. Is usually I just make a big thing of soup and I put the whole, like the giant kettle, all of it, not kettle, what's it, the big soup pot. I just put all of that in the fridge. Then I go through it. I mean, I eat it quickly, like throughout the week, but it takes up a ton of space in the fridge, space that we don't really have, especially when we're making like a big, like weekly, big, like getting out of the fridge perfect with all our pre-made stuff. So this will help with that a lot, I think. Let's start at the top and come down. So it's just going to make more fridge space. And it's going to be using our freezer space better than what we are now, too. Just trying to get some systems in place, I guess. I actually have to do the cooking, though, yet. It doesn't matter at all if that's not getting done. All right. Maybe I'll soak some beans tonight so I can make them tomorrow. That sounds like a plan. All right, I'm just doing a back stitch down the line here, down the center, and that will clean up these little points where these all come to the middle too. Little pretty touch, I think. Oh, nice. Kathy says, I'm cleaning out my fridge while watching and listening to you. Yeah, that's on my list. It's one of those weekends where it's just time to clean every little nook and cranny again. and maybe get some of those big pushes done, like the big, like, trying on things and going through all the hats and gloves that we've amassed. We don't need all those. Kind of doing different size stitches along the edge here, but I think that's okay. We're getting there. Just have the bottom part of this to do yet, besides these two little gray toppers there, but we just have all of this. And the candy cane will take some time because that's all satin stitch, kind of like this letter border here. We'll get it. We're at the 2-hour mark now, everyone. So that's the thing of these little Saturday stitch-alongs. They take a bit longer because we're usually on the Saturday stitch-alongs. The goal is to finish something. So I wanted to get this done this week, since next week we're going to be working on the Koala Quilt. So I'll be doing that instead. So I wanted to get this guy done. And we didn't start it right away at the beginning of the week either. Typically we work on our Embroidery of the Month the 3rd week of the month, not the 2nd. So we actually started this on Wednesday. We didn't start it on Monday. But even if we did start this on Monday, I'm not sure we would have gotten the whole thing done in the week. Actually, we wouldn't, because that would have been 5 hours, and we're at kind of the 5-hour mark of working on this now. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're each an hour, and then we're 2 hours now. So we would have still had all this to do yet. And taking off the Fabri-Selvi, or the stick and stitch, I mean, our stabilizer here. Our little sticker of the pattern. But we're getting there. So I was expecting it'd be around 3 hours, and it might be that and a hair more, actually. So we're 2 hours in now. So kind of crazy. The big, long, giant live. Oh, I think I skipped a stitch. So I'll have to go back one. It's kind of fun, though. I like doing it. Oh, Luann, that sounds like a nice project. That could be a stressful project, too. Like, just going through all your fabric and just kind of reorganizing it and stuff. Oh, I got a little knot that I need to pop out here. There we go. I'm kind of itching to do that. So I have all that stuff in the basement in bins. So all my fabric, I put everything in like these plastic Sterilite bins, just because, we get water occasionally in the basement because of the snow or some horrible thing, and then all of a sudden water comes in, so I don't want anything on the ground. I have everything in those plastic bins. But once I go through all the other nooks, like I've been talking about, I'm gradually trying to go through each little area and just really decide what I want to keep or not. After I do all the upstairs stuff, the basement is going to be a huge project related to that. But I'd love to do that too, because we have an unfinished basement, and it's just, cement. But it's a nice extra space, and it would be nice if it was more organized and I actually have a sewing machine down there too. I'd love for that to be like a big sewing workspace and just a chill space, but we're not gonna do any of that until we've figured out all the areas up here first, I don't think. All right. But that's on my list. At that point, I'll go through my fabric again, and I've organized it once before, but I just need to like take a look at it all again, I think. All right, those turned out really nice. They just look so fluffy. I love them. So, all right, let's grab a little gray thread. We'll get these two little bits there. And there's actually, we got like maybe one chain stitch worth of gray that we need to do down here. I'm going to jump down and do that too. That's our last bit of gray. So like 3 chain stitches all across the board here. And then we'll be done, which actually makes me think that this is not enough thread. Ugh. Do I think that this might be just enough thread? Let's hope, because, oh, I do have an extra tiny bit here. So we're going to use our scraps of this gray instead of getting a whole new piece out. Let's hope that these scraps are just enough. Okay, this has a fuzzy little edge. I thought I could thread it, but I'm going to clean it up. There we go. Now I should have a nice clean edges that I'll thread. There we go. Much easier. Okay, we'll start at the top here. Oh, cool, Kathy. Yeah, so I'm excited for the koala quilt. So next week we'll be, I have the label right here, we'll be stitching on our koala quilt label to the back of the quilt. There's actually another koala that we'll actually sew these together, and it'll be like one big long label, the koala plus this. And we will, I think I'm going to stitch a back to it so I can turn it right side out and have nice finished edges right away, and then I'll hand stitch this on. That will be our project for next week, and I'm going to do one little extra project next week that I think will be fun. And also, at the same time, it will be the actual auction for the quilt. So, first of all, we'll finish it. We'll officially finish the quilt because we'll get that label on. Then it's officially done. And we'll be having the auction of the quilt, and I'll have a few other fun things going on for having for this auction for next week. So that'll be all next week is how long the auction is. And it'll be it'll be like the last viewing of the koala quilt too. In theory, after this auction, I'll be sending it to whoever gets it. So this will be it for the auction. John is working on a really fun video right now of us working on it at my parents' house. So I'm excited to share that with you too. It'll be like a nice walk down memory lane, all of the koala quilt stuff. Then it'll be gone, which is sad, but I'll be happy to donate more from the sale of it, and hopefully it goes to like a loving home, which I'm sure it will. All right, we got our 2 little guys there. I think maybe I can travel down and have just enough floss for this guy. I'm going to go for it, but ugh, it's going to be close. It's more on this side. Let's go kind of a more straight path. Ugh, we're going to just make it there, I think. All right. One little chain stitch I think will do the job. Oh, perfect amount of thread. Actually, I'm going to do the sewing method for it too. There we are. Oh, thanks, Marie. Oh, that got all a little bloopy. Let's try and fix that. Looks fine. Got a little twisted at the base there. Good enough. Let's weave that in. I think that's officially the end of our green and our gray thread. All we have left is the red and a little bit more of the blue. See, it takes me this long into the process to remember I got my needle minder there. All right, and I didn't need that extra little fuzzle of gray. That's good. All right. Next up, we're cruising along. This whole entire top is done. All we have left now is this bottom little base. I'm going to scooch this up out of the way up here again. All right, and let's see, what's our plan for this? I think the best way to go about this is probably to start with the satin stitch. So we will, I think every other one of these guys is satin stitch. So it looks like this one, then this little bit here. I'm looking at the design next to me here. This one, all the skinnier ones are the satin stitch. So it looks like we need more red. We'll do all that. And then we'll probably pick up this little red bit here to do. And then all that's left is this is all back stitched, and we got a couple like lazy daisy single chain stitches here, and we're done. All right, you guys, this is I still am not sure we'll be done within the hour, so it's maybe a little bit longer than 3 hours today. Oh, look, I got a little knot in here. Thought I was grabbing it kind of funny. Wrapped it around itself. Okay. Well, I'll get my normal length, about 24 inches. I think I went a little over. Get 3 strands out. There we are. 1. I hope when John said that there was ice cream, I hope there was really ice cream. Or when I think it was Rebecca, when she asked about ice cream, I hope there really is ice cream and he wasn't just kidding. Because that would be awesome. Although I cannot be eating that stuff anymore, but I'm not going to feel good after, but it's going to feel yummy while I eat it. All right. Matching my threads again. Oh, a little bloop in there. Okay, let's get it through the conditioner. Luann says, yes, it's stressful, like the organizing, the fabric. That is, she's putting together jelly rolls and charm packs to make it less to cut later. Well, that's a good idea. But first, coffee. And you know what? I think I'll have another sip of coffee, too. It's cold and getting low now, but I think we have a little bit more. I'll have to warm some up later. Coffee and ice cream, if that's for real, that'd be nice. I'm going to trim the little end here. Clean it up. All right. Where to start? So I think I'll weave in the ends here, and we'll go in this direction just because then I'm not jumping around too much. I think I might, I don't want to start down here because there's nothing to weave into the backs of the stitches, so I'll weave in back here. Then I actually might jump down to here. Yeah. Maybe I'll jump to here. That's less of a path and is more blocked by the stitches. What I don't want to have happen is that I'm crossing over a big white space on the back with the thread, because I don't want to see it on the front. So I think I'll jump to here. I'll make like one stitch and then I'll come back down and do this and then come back up and finish it. Then everywhere I jump will have other stitches going over the top of it later. All right, I think that's a plan. And then I'll go down through all here. Actually, what I could do is do the satin stitches to here, go back around and do the back stitches because there's all this stuff here. And then I think I will, there's one little stitch here, a couple little stitches. So I am going to make some leaps across the back of this bow just to make it easy. Then I'll come back down here and do the satin stitches in the back stitch. So we're going to do like a combo. I'm not going to finish all the satin stitches first. All right, I think I got a plan at least. We'll see if that stays. Always like making a tiny little plan as I start. Gretchen's asking about the jump. So the jumping from one spot to another confuses me. How long can I make a jump? You can make it as long as you want. Like if I was making red here and I wanted to start another thing up there, you can jump all the way from here to there. And a lot of people do that. But then on the back of your embroidery, you'll have a lot of these loose, big areas, which is fine. But like you wouldn't really want to do that if you're stitching a tea towel, for example, because the back will be exposed, and we call them toe catchers. Like you'll get something caught in there, like your toe will get caught. If it's big enough to catch a toe, it's probably too big of a jump. But if your plan is just to cover up the back, or just to hang it on the wall or whatever, then make as big of jumps as you want. I think it makes it just a little bit more difficult to stitch because, you know, I might be accidentally catching on my thread or needle on those jumps later. So I personally like not making them very big and like going behind other stitches. The other thing I don't like is if I would jump from here to like here, for example, this is a pretty dark thread. Like it's a pretty bold colored thread on a light colored fabric. So on the front, you know, afterwards, you can kind of see that. I might be able to see that stitch or that jump on the back. So that's the other thing I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to not go where on the front there's big white areas, big fabric only areas. I'm trying to hide those. Like, so if I made a jump from here to here now, there's stitches there, right? So I can't see that red thread on the back quite as easily because there's other stitches hiding it. So that's another thing I'm just kind of paying attention to a little bit when I'm doing a jump. So like from here to here, I'm going to go, because ultimately I want to get down to here. But if I jumped from here to there, I might be able to see that red line go across right there. Let's see if I can do that. Yeah, so in the light, I think you guys can kind of see that. I don't know. There's like a red line there. So I'm going a little at a better angle where the stitches will be blinded by or hidden by other stitches. All right, I'm just going to make this one stitch here, and then I'm going to actually make the rest of the leaf down to the bottom here. And actually, you could do a back stitch up until you get to the satin stitches, and then do a bunch of satin stitches, and then continue the back stitch to the next one, then do all your satin stitches, and then back stitch to the next one, satin stitches, and maybe that'd be a good way to do this. Well, I'm already doing it. We're going with idea number 1. So we did a bunch of satin stitches up here. We're just going from one side to the other and filling in the space. I will backstitch this bottom though. So all of our little edges will be hidden ultimately. Ugh, getting little bloops in here already. This red is so bright. I think it's just right for this. Alright, we'll do one more little stitch. And I think I'm going to just jump up to here. So now this is this particular shape, there's like a bigger edge here than there is on the bottom. So I have a couple ways I could do this, and I'm already kind of doing it a little weird, but like I could spread out the stitches a little bit so it's kind of like fanned out like this a little bit, but I want to do it enough where I don't see the white in, so I could really crowd them at the bottom here and spread them out. Or I could just keep going straight and then have a few extra stitches here. I might even go that route. I don't know, let's see. Because it's not a perfect straight little fill. I think, why don't I just keep doing it straight? So I'll show you the two different ways. So here, you can see when Jenna stitched this, she just had them tighter at the bottom and a little looser at the top, and that gave you that kind of fan feel. I'm going to do it the other way, where I did it kind of like this, where I just stay straight with the stitches, and then just I won't have back stitches to cover it up, but I'm going to just keep going straight up this triangle. So I'm going to just keep coming up the edge instead of trying to stay at that bottom. So it'll be a little bit different look, but that's okay. We're testing out some ideas. There, see, I'm kind of stair-stepping up the side. That works too. I think we'll get one more tiny little corner one. There, two different ways of filling in that space. So there we are. So we still get that nice angle still, but I just did it with shorter and shorter stitches instead of trying to fan it out. I think that looks nice. All right, I'm going to jump over to this guy. Satin stitches really adds a fun touch to this, I think. It's just so bold and pretty. You could do long and short stitches. So long and short stitches, we've kind of gone over that when we did the You're a Peach, or the oh, what did it say? Oh, You're Sweet, the You're Sweet embroidery. Long and short stitches, let me just draw that out here. Long and short, that's where, like, if you're filling a space like that, I don't know if you guys can see. So you're filling a space. Your first row would be long stitches, like a long stitch and a short stitch, and a long stitch and a short stitch, long stitch, short, long, short, long. So kind of like so. And your next row would all be longs, and you're going up and down. So here's a long one to the top of the shape, another long one, but it only goes halfway because you're starting out lower. Long, long, long. So you're kind of like stair-stepping to fill in a shape, and then you'd have to fill in these last short little gaps. So this would be a long and short stitch. It's another nice way to fill in spaces. It's not going to look as satiny, as like just solid smooth, because it's got all those starting and stop places. However, I would consider using that if I was doing any larger space than this. So these are pretty small. I like satin stitch for these small little areas. But if they get to the point where they're toe catchers, then I prefer switching to a different stitch. Like if we wanted to fill in this shape, this would be far too long, I think, for a satin stitch. It'd get kind of twisted. It wouldn't look as satiny anymore if we filled this whole space with satin stitches. So this sort of large space I would fill with that short and long stitch for sure. You know, there's all sorts of fun ways to fill things up. Another way is we could just keep going. We could do more and more rows of chain stitch. We could just keep going chain stitch, chain stitch, chain stitch till the space is filled. You can do the same with back stitch, just fill the whole thing with rows of back stitches. Like all these outlining stitches that we're using, you just put them next to each other and then you got yourself a fill stitch. Give you a different texture. Actually, a bunch of chain stitches right next to each other in rows looks like knit. So if you're stitching something that is supposed to look like, you know, a knit sweater or something, for example, a bunch of rows of chain stitches looks awesome for that. All right, so I think I am going to back stitch the hook area here of the candy cane, and then we'll work our way back down to the other side, other end. This didn't take that long. So when we are done embroidering this, I am going to take the stick and stitch off. So I do have my iron, and I have some bowls of water here too on deck. I'm sure they're cold by now. Usually I like using warm water. Cold water works as well, but I think the warm water just does it faster. Like you can immediately start seeing the stick and stitch come off your piece. And it takes a little bit of finagling with the cold water. All right, I think that looks nice. All right, I'm going to back stitch this chain stitch all the way, or this candy cane all the way around here. Covering up those edges of the stitches. I won't be covering up this edge of that angled piece, but that's okay. I think it looks nice as is. Again, this back stitch is adding just that little extra like beaded, sweet look to the edge. Oh, absolutely. Nice. Teresa says, that would be a great technique for filling in, say, like a roof on a house or trying to do like a fence. She says her brain's popping. Yeah, there's so many fun ways. That would be actually a fun, like, just project. Like, let's see how we can use all these stitches that we usually think of outlining and use it to fill. I mean, even this you could consider fill. We filled in this like kind of triangle shape with all these lazy daisy stitches or these single chain stitches. That's another kind of way we filled in a space. So many options with embroidery. That's why I kind of like keeping it simple sometimes. Just then there's like less variables, right? Like, you know, when you know you could do any stitch for anything, it's just like, oh my gosh, what do I do? So it's fun, like, for an example with that turkey stitch that we did for the Tyranno. The other stitches I just left as things I'm familiar with and easier decisions, and then that turkey stitch was like the one thing that I gotta like do differently and play with. So that's kind of how I like to add new stitches to, is just, let's just add the one new stitch and then do familiar for the rest. I think Gretchen was asking earlier, or saying that her stick and stitch was coming off. Mine's doing that a little bit here. That tends to happen more when it starts to get really dry out, like it is now, at least by us. You can just, if it's really bothering you, then you could just add a couple stitches down there to hold it down. Don't get it wet, because then it'll start to dissolve, and you don't want that yet. But yeah, I would just add a couple like little basting stitches to it. If you know it's going to be a little bit like that, then it's actually kind of nice to work some of your outside stitches, like, you know, do this guy, then, you know, maybe I would have done the whole border first and then the center, because all those stitches will hold it down as well. we're getting there with the thread. I think we'll get, we might get all the way back down here. It's looking awfully cute though. Little fuzzle came from the back there. All right. So I'm going to call this in between a 6 and 7 hour embroidery, maybe even like a 6 to 8 hour embroidery, and maybe a little bit longer if you're just starting. So there is a lot to fill on this one. I think we're getting to about 6 hours. All right, I am just jumping across here. There's a couple tiny little back stitches here. So I might be able to see a little red line on the back of this bow, but meh. At this point, I'm thinking that's fine. Okay, and let's see. I think we actually have enough thread to get a few stitches out. I think I'm going to actually start this a little bit lower. So you see how, oh wait, I'm doing the wrong thing. I was going to fill in this space. That's not the space I want to fill. I want to fill just this one here. All right, that was a close one. So I think I'm going to start on the longer edge here. Almost filled the wrong space. I'm glad I looked. I think I might even have enough thread to fill this little itty bitty area here. Maybe even get a few back stitches in. I think that's about it. I think my back stitches will fill in that last little gap. I'm going to actually do a few back stitches as I'm like starting to trace this, even though I have that satin stitched on there that I haven't done yet, but I think I'll just stop before I get that far. There, I think this will be my last stitch. We'll weave in this end and get our last little piece of red. We do have this guy over here to do yet. This little circle and all the shapes, the lines on the inside are red. One, two, three. All right. Let's get our other piece here. This should be plenty to finish the rest of the red. Oh, nice! Catherine says that she's cutting 3-inch squares for my half-square triangle quilt. Nice. I was looking at mine that's sitting around here in my space, and I was like, oh, I should just sit and cut the rest of that fabric too. I was thinking about that today. I got other things to do. I want to do this. I want to organize these closets and stuff, but I did think of that yesterday. I have those old clothes that I'm cutting up for it. I'm like, man, it'd be nice to just cut the rest of those up into 3 inches for that as well. But I think that's going to be another day, unfortunately, because that sounds relaxing. The cutting doesn't sound relaxing, but the being able to just like sit and watch TV while I do it or something sounds relaxing. Come back here. All right, let's start again. We'll start with these sand stitches. Got that Christmassy smell again. Okay, so Kimberly's asking, could I review how I do the stick and stitches? Because she hasn't used it. So this is a product from Sulky. Let me see if I have it near me. Here we go. So this is how it comes. So it's Stick and Stitch. It's by Sulky. This is just like, it's 8.5 by 11. There's 12 sheets that come in here, and the nice thing is you can run it through your printer, so you can print your design directly to it. That's the key, that you can print your design. So it's like the actual printed design on there. You're not tracing or anything, which is awesome. So you have like, there's no like generation loss basically, because you're printing it directly from the pattern. And then you stick it on. It's basically a sticker. So you pull off the backing paper, and then it just sticks to your piece, and you can stitch right through it. That's where we're at now. And it comes off in water. So I'm going to go through that process when we're done stitching this. So we're going to do all that too. And, you know, so there is you know, it's not as fun. You're not as finished right away as if you just traced it, because you do have to take it off. But like so you just have to kind of decide what you like and don't like more. So I don't especially like tracing my design onto the fabric, so this kind of solves that. I don't have to do any of that. I can just start right away, and I love that. Whereas with tracing, I'd have to trace it all first. But yeah, the trade-off is at the end here. I have to do the work of taking it off, which is a little annoying. But still, I'd rather do that than have to trace it all. So we'll go over that process when we're done here, though. It's not the worst. So your piece will be completely wet when you're done. But I'm going to show you how I dry it and press it at the same time. So we will end up with like a pretty much perfectly dry, except for there's a lot of bulky areas that might not dry perfectly, but right away. But it'll pretty much be a dry and perfectly flat and nice piece when we're done. Like, you could really actually start using it to sew. You know, if you're making it into a pillow or something else, you could do that right away. You wouldn't have to wait like overnight for it to dry or anything. Yeah. Got a little knot back here. Actually, it's not really a knot. It's just getting stuck on those ends. Oh, Marie, yes, I did the French and the Colonial knots. But, you know, this will be available still, so you can run through. I did it right away. So if you when I'm done here, if you rewind right to the beginning, I go through like the things you might be doing wrong with your French knot, or might be holding you up doing the French knot. And then as I get to here, from here on, those are all Colonial knots. So I did go over that as well. So you can check back for that. Okay, I'm gonna make a little bigger leap than I like to, but I'm getting less picky as I work on this piece. So I'm gonna actually jump from here to start stitching these pieces. So I might go from here to here because then at least I'll have these stitches covering it up. So I think I'm gonna go right to here. And I'm hoping to have just enough thread. So these are just all back stitches, so it's kind of like a squiggle, little squiggles of back stitches. This would be really cute if you satin stitched it in too, like every other one, but I was like, yeah, we're probably sick of satin stitching by now. I'm gonna just just do some back stitches. I think we're going to do each of these in like 4 movements, right to the center there. So I'm going to do this inner part, and then we'll just do a circle around, and then that'll be it for the red. All we have left then are the bows and these little like cellophane twisties. So normally, again, I would prefer to have done these lazy daisies there first because then I could cover up the points with my back stitch that I'll do next, but I erred on the side of I have this color on the needle. I'm just going to keep going. Dang, Patricia, you're having a productive day. Patricia says, got bathroom clean, showered, and coffee time again. That's a lot of, that sounds like a good accomplishment. 3 good accomplishments for the day. Last little squiggle through here. We'll do a forward stitch here. It'll be a little bit easier to go straight down through that center at this point with all those other stitches there, I think. Yeah. Oh, getting held up again. I think the end of this, like I should just maybe trim this. The end of this is for some reason getting stuck everywhere and it's making it feel like knots. Okay, now we'll go around this circle and red will be done. I am trying to go over the tops of these back stitches I did though to kind of cover them up. Little candy. I would eat both of these if they were real and in front of me right now. Yum. Some peppermints with some coffee. Everything needs to pair with coffee. Patricia says she had to work for her coffee, getting the bathroom clean. Almost there. We'll just have to get some blue out, then we'll be done. I think I'm going to start with these lazy daisies, and then I'll jump over to here. And that's all backstitch. So what's nice is that my last stitch will kind of be like right there, so I could just jump and then start, I don't know, this shape right away maybe. Woohoo! Last red stitch. All right, yummy. Let's weave in those ends. And then just the blue. Then we can take off the stick and stitch. So the whole process of taking off the stick and stitch and pressing it, I think that won't take more than, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes or so. All right. Let's get the blue. This is that winter morning. I almost said flavor. Winter morning color. Whenever it's snowing, no, not yet. It's so gray today that I thought, oh, maybe for sure it'll snow, but nope. Ooh, I can start to feel it in my hands. I'll have to stretch out a little bit when we're done here too. Kind of haven't really taken a break. If you've been stitching this whole time, I would take a little break, stretch a little bit. I think we're almost done with this, so I'll definitely do that later. It's kind of like wax, so I don't always do that. It's kind of a new thing for me that I'm playing around with using the thread conditioner. This particular thread conditioner is I think basically beeswax with some other flavors in. There's another type of thread conditioner that I think is it more like silicone based? I'm not sure, but yes. So this is basically beeswax, coconut oil, and fragrance. It says. But yeah, I think there's other versions of it. I historically have never used this, but I got a few of them to like kind of test out because some people were asking about it, and now I'm just doing it. I think mostly it smells good, this particular kind, but it does kind of it's stiffening the thread a little bit. It's holding it together. I think it's just kind of protects the thread. But this one smells amazing. This is from Wisecraft Handmade. There's the address on the back. So wisecrafthandmade.com. And it's by So Fine Thread Gloss. So I think that's a pretty common brand of, it's a small business. So Fine. Here we go. I think it is at least. All right. What were we doing again here? All right, so I'm going to start at these guys, and then we'll jump and do these guys, and then I'll be able to jump up to here and just start right away. So, all right, I'm going to start right there. I'll weave in the end. Oops. Tugged on a little much. So she's calling this stuff thread gloss. I've seen it called thread conditioner and just beeswax and stuff too. But again, I've only tried this like beeswax version of it. I should grab some of this other stuff that's a little different, I guess. Do like a side-by-side comparison, I think, one of these days. All right. So this is going to be a little difficult because I'm going to have to come up kind of under these back stitches that I've already done. I suppose why don't we do the sewing method for these too, like how we've been doing. So in and out. Actually, I'm only going to do the sewing method from the inside out because I think doing it back in again, I have those back stitches, so I need to be more accurate, I think, to get near those back stitches. This will be cute. Cute couple little cellophane bits. All right, yeah, I'm going to come up right there again. Now I'll do the sewing method. In and out. Wrap the floss around the back. You gotta get your needle in there to separate them a little bit if you want. Form them a little bit more. Lynn says she traced with the water pen. Do I have to soak the whole towel to remove that? No, I don't think you do. What I do for that is I take a kitchen towel or a tea towel or a washcloth, something that holds water well, and I just dab the whole end of one of those towels, and then I dab it on. You do actually need a lot of water. You don't need to soak the whole thing, but you want that towel kind of soaking wet, and you just want to gob it kind of on. Sometimes it'll spread to the outside of your water shape, so you'll have to keep an eye on it, like when it dries and stuff, but then you can just put a little bit more on. So no, you don't have to like dip the whole thing in. You can just kind of dab it and go to like all your little visible areas. Anchor stitch that down. That looks pretty cute. Now let's do this side. Alright, right there looks okay. These are pretty big chain stitches again, so this is going to use up floss quickly, but we'll have enough to jump and do some back stitches on this other bow. So I pulled this one a little bit tighter, and you can see it kind of looks like just one fat stitch versus like these that look a little bit more like teardrop shape, and that's because I didn't pull that one as those other ones as tight. So this one I'll try and get more teardroppy. Either look fine, but if you're going for a certain look, there we go, that's a little looser. Anchor it down. Okay, last one on here. Then we just have the little bow. There we go. Cute. There we are. Alright, I'll make my little anchor stitch, and then I'm going to just come up right on here. I think I'm going to just, let's start by doing this kind of middle line that goes down, and then we can come back around and do the rest of that bow. We actually have quite a bit of floss left. Getting there. So when we're done with this, I'll quick move the iPad, move some stuff out of the way on my table here. We'll get a little, we'll get the camera up a little higher again, and I'll grab my 2 bowls of water. So if you're doing the stick and stitch, removing that at home, like I just run water over it in the sink until it's all off. My mom fills up the sink and does it there and then rinses it. I think that's a good idea too. But I don't have a sink right near me when I'm working with you guys here, so I just fill up 2 bowls. 1 bowl for the initial wash off, but then another bowl basically just to rinse and get the final little bits off. That's why I use the 2 bowls. Crawling up this edge. I think hopefully I can make it all the way around this bow. That'd be nice. Again, I do have the pattern on my iPad open right next to me so I can glance at the stitches, like, what stitch goes where and what color goes where. So that's right next to me, and I am glancing at that just to remember, oh, this is a back stitch. Most of the time I can tell, but I still glance back at it. I definitely glance back at it to see which one of these ones were filled with the running stitches. We are getting there. We are just getting to that 3-hour mark, which is crazy, right? But luckily this isn't cross stitch. Cross stitch, this would have taken days and days and days and days, not just hours. A lot more filling up the space with little stitches with cross stitch. That's the nice thing about embroidery versus cross stitch. It's a bit faster. All right, 2 more here, and maybe we'll get another stitch or 2. I think I might actually try and get as far as I can up this middle area here with like maybe 3 more stitches or so that I have on this thread, because then that'll be good, because I'd be in a pickle like mapping this out. I'd end up at a spot that I don't want to be, so getting this little spot in now is going to help me later. Ooh, I might even make it all the way to the top. That'd be cool. Cutting it close for that, but this is definitely more stitches than I thought we'd get out of this little blue piece. I think we're gonna do it. 1 more stitch. Cool. Now I can just go all the way around and finish up this bottom stuff with the next bit. Cool. Oh, let's make sure that I do this stitch right before turning it around. There we go. I'll weave that in. I'll just weave into these stitches. Oops. Forgot. My thread's not that long. Just pulled it right off of the needle. Ugh, and now it's all fuzzy. There we go. Got it through. Good. Okay, let's get our second, oops, did it again. There we go. Get our second piece of this blue. I'll run it through the conditioner again, just because it'll smell yummy again. Patricia's asking if I doing a cross stitch block of the month. I think that would actually be really fun to do sometime. We have not done a lot of, really at all, have we? We haven't done any cross stitch here, have we? I think that would be actually kind of fun to do a cross stitch for one of the embroidery of the months. But there are some places out there that do like a embroidery or like a cross stitch where it's every month, but you end up only with like a thing this big, because cross stitch does take a long, long time. It's actually surprisingly long. You get like a little itty bitty thing and you think, oh, this will take, an afternoon. It doesn't. It takes a long time to do cross stitch, but it's really fun. That's how I started, and I just love having these squares with nothing on, and then you just read the chart and it just fills in. I think it's kind of magic. Like something from nothing pops up on your fabric. It's just cool. Whereas this, we're just kind of tracing lines that are there. Cross stitch, it just like appears. I like that. All right, I'm going to go around here, go around this outside shape. Then I think we'll get this first bow in, and then I'll probably get this bottom little edge, get this other one, and then we'll do the circle last so we can cover up all these little backstitch ends. We should easily, I would like to think, get done with this piece of thread. Or floss. I hope we don't have to get another one going. I suppose there is kind of a lot of surface area that we're covering with this line. Oh, Sally said, I recently got back into cross stitch. That's cool. Yeah, I do think it'd be fun. Yeah, it is so pretty to cross stitch. I agree, Rebecca. It would be fun. It'd be really fun, actually. And you can actually cross stitch without cross stitch fabric even. We could actually use the stick and stitch and just print a grid on the stick and stitch, and then you can use that as your guide to, then you can use the sharp embroidery needle and stuff too. You wouldn't need all new supplies. The trick would be just going in and out of the same hole. Might be a little bit more difficult, but it'd probably be more fun to do on the even weave fabric or a brand of that is Aida, that Aida fabric, AIDA, that you might have heard of. That's where it's all like laid out. You can actually see the holes that you're supposed to stitch in. It's almost like there's 4 strands, or like it's like a few strands of the fabric, the threads of the fabric, and then it's almost like a space, and then they do 4 more, and then a space, and then the same thing this way. So what it creates, it's called even weave fabric, but it creates these like little holes on a grid, and those little holes are what you stitch through. And you actually don't want to pierce the fabric, you just want to go through those little holes, and that's why cross stitch needles have a dull point, because you don't want to stab the fabric like what we are here with embroidery. You want to just go through those little holes. All right, I'll do one more little one here. Ugh, we might actually run out of floss. That'd be a bummer. Have to cut some more. All right. Around this bottom edge. Yay, we're almost done. I'm excited. Yeah, so I think we'll be here at least another half hour for sure, because, well, first of all, I'm not done yet, and taking off the stick and stitch will take a little while. And then I'm also going to press it right away. So we'll get the iron on. One thing you'll need if you're at that stage, that you took the stick and stitch off, or you're doing that and then you're going to press it, you'll want along with your iron and pressing mat or ironing board or whatever, you'll want a fluffy towel. And by that I mean like a terry cloth towel, like a bath towel. The point being, you want that fluff because you want the stitches to ultimately sink into that fluff when we press it, and that'll help all our stitches not get totally squashed when we iron. Because we are going to actually iron on top of the stitches. We're not going to just iron around it and let the rest air dry. We're going to press right on top of the stitches, but we don't want to squish them, so that's why we need that fluffy towel. So I got one on hand here. Ugh, I'm worried about not having enough thread. I'm going to switch to that going forward a stitch and then going backwards a stitch. That preserves the amount of thread a little bit more. And since I'm feeling like we're going to be up to the wire, I'm going to like cheat a little bit. I think it makes the back stitches look slightly more awkward if you're really getting really picky, but to the naked eye, can't really tell. But it does use less thread. Some people do that all the time for their back stitches. They go forward one, like what I'm doing now. I'm going forward one, and then I'm going back one, and then I'll go forward one again. But like I said, I think you're piercing your thread a little differently, so I think it does distort your stitches just a hair every once in a while. And then I have to remember if the last one I went forward or backward. So I prefer just doing the back stitch, but yeah, it does use some more floss. But I don't want to get a new floss out, so I'm going to try and do this where I don't run out. And it's looking good at this point, so that's good. Whereas if I just did the back stitch, I don't know if we would have made it. We're actually going to be pretty close still. Like this, like coming up with a stitch already there, that's what's difficult with this forward and back stitch. Because with the back stitch, you're always coming up fresh and then going down in a previous stitch, not the other way around. Whereas with the forward stitch, you got to come up in that last stitch, which means getting it just right from the back. Oh, good. Lynn says, yay, the blue ink magically disappeared with a little water. Love it. Awesome. So you will kind of want to check back, because sometimes when it dries, it'll like, there'll be a little bit of blue on the edge of wherever the wetness was. But you can just dab that again away. But that's awesome. Good. I'm glad that came off easily enough. Alright, 2 more stitches here, and then we just have to make it around that little oval in the middle. I think we have enough floss for that. Come on, there we are. Alright, let's work our way around here. So I do want to try and cover up these stitches. This I'm all going to do back stitch. I think I have enough to just focus on back stitches. Enough floss left. Yay, this is it. Last little bit. It's always fun. Fun doing the last stitches. This could be cute, satin stitched in too, maybe. Uh-oh. Yep, thought that didn't feel like the right length. Ah, shoot. Right at the end we get one of these loopy knots. So these knots are super duper common with embroidery, and what's happening here, can you see it there? What's happening is the thread's just wrapping around itself and tightening. So all you have to do typically to get rid of these is put your needle right through that loop that's on it. So there we go. I went right through the loop, and you can kind of pull up. One side will make it tighter, so you can grab one edge, and there. I pulled on this side, like I just held this side of the thread down and pulled up, and that worked. If it doesn't work, then try holding the other side. But now the knot is right up against the needle here, and now I can just kind of go in this loop and then pop it out when it's that short. There we go. So there we go. It's just the thread wrapping around itself as it squiggles through. But it's annoying that it happened there. But if you get one of those knots, that's the best way to get out. Put your needle in the actual loop, pull up a little bit, and if you need to hold one of the sides of the floss or the other, that'll help. Till it comes up to the needle, the knot, and then you can just pop it out. I find that happens more if you're using a really long piece of thread or your thread's getting like really twisted up or something too. But there we are. Okay, let's weave in the end, and we'll take a look. get the iron started, and we'll get my bowls of water here, and we'll do this. Actually, let's take the needle minder off. There, so it's just the two magnets. Plop them together. Needle can actually stay on it for a little while. There we are, looking all pretty. Okay, let's move ahead. Let's take it out of the hoop, and I'll get rid of the iPad and some other stuff around here, and I'll get the bowls of water, and we will finish this up. Nice, nice, nice. Ugh, I'm excited about this. All right, here we are. So you can see I got all my floss just chilling out over here yet. I will have to clean all that up later. And move this guy, move all our extra little floss bits. Don't need the scissors anymore. Okay, let me grab the bowls of water here. All right, so I have 2 bowls of water. Again, you could do this right over your sink, like without the bowls. One is just to get it started, and the other is to like kind of rinse and clean it up, because I don't want any of this stick and stitch on when I go to the iron, because it'll gook up the iron. So I'm going to just dip this whole thing in here. We're going to get it's going to get a little wet over here on the table. All right. So immediately those dots that I drew on, and you know, this water-soluble pen, like that's immediately gone right away, which is pretty awesome. So again, you want to use warm water for this. Mine's like almost ice cold because it's been sitting around for the past 3 hours, but it'll still come off with cold water. I just don't think it's as fast. So yeah, it's usually by now it'll have started to flake off. There we go. You can see it start to like flake. If you're using warm water, I think that would happen much faster. But so this is the part where we just have to kind of chill. This is our trade-off of being able to stitch right away at the beginning by using this. Now we got to spend the time to get rid of it. And so I'm just kind of, we're going to actually have to massage almost every stitch to get this off, but right now we're getting all the big pieces off. It's a little tougher when it's behind all these stitches too, and we want to be super gentle too because we don't want to disrupt our stitches too much. But you can see it's all floating around in here now. All right, most of the large pieces are off, so now it's just a matter of like going over every stitch and making sure it's kind of coming off from behind the stitches. So this does take some time. So we will just chill here. Oh, nice. Lynn says tea towel done, ready to decorate for Christmas. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. That's exciting. Yeah, I think this one especially would be really cute on a tea towel. A good one of those like holiday display tea towels. Especially these lighter colors, you are going to want to kind of work on trying to get all that stick and stitch gone, because I don't want any of my the toner from my printer. I don't want any residue there. You'll maybe see some of those black little specks. That's just the toner from the printer, so you just want to keep... You won't be able to see that as much once we press it. Just kind of going around. It is pretty difficult when we have all of these stitches like covering up a lot of space, so like it's harder to get the stick and stitch off from behind all those stitches. So my stitches, these are really loose stitches, right? These lazy daisy stitches. I may have to kind of reshape them a little bit after they're out of the water, but I think I kind of wanted them a little looser, fluffier almost. Let's do this Santa before I get too far away from it. So you can see that it's dissolving into little and smaller bits here. So the water is just going to get kind of flaky and dirty looking. And that's why we want the other water, because as I pick this up, all those little flakes are going to be on my fabric, and we want those gone. Actually, oh yeah, I did start the iron. Good. I'm getting kind of behind these letters. So this is what I mean. If you don't want to be doing this stuff at this point, then tracing might be the way to go. But if you just hate tracing and don't mind this, then use the stick and stitch. So it's just kind of a matter of preference. Oh, I think we had more snow or ice just fall from the roof again. Yeep. Oh yeah, there's a bunch on this bow at the bottom here yet. Yep, a lot down here yet. I think the rest is getting pretty good though. Here. Just doing a quick check. All right, like, I think that's good. Maybe a little bit more in this bow area. I think that's not so bad. All right, I'm gonna just, let's, maybe a little bit on this evergreen thing over here, but I think I'm gonna jump over to my clean water. So, all right, again, I'm just gonna kind of squeeze it out. So look how murky this is. Maybe you guys can't tell. I don't know, a lot of reflection, but that's pretty murky, especially here's it compared to the clean water. Got a bunch of stuff floating around in there. I'm going to plop this in the clean water and just move this out of the way. All right, so this is just kind of like a final rinse, getting more of those little bits off, and then hopefully it's not stuck on the fabric anymore either. Just try and get it all, I can see a little bit on the fabric down here. Just kind of try and get all those flakes off. All right, I think we're good. So I'm just going to move this out of the way now too, and I'm actually going to, I got my towel here. I'm just going to kind of use it to wipe up. Let's just lay it on the towel for a second. Get this out of here. Again, I would just do that over the sink, so I'm not dealing with bowls. But all right, let's get my pressing mat out. And now, I mean, you can use your ironing board too, but again, the idea is you want this fluffy towel. So I'm going to lay this towel on. It's just layered like this too. So it is pretty poofy. That's what we want. But, you know, it's that terry cloth where you have like that pile on it, where it's raised and soft. So here is my soaking wet embroidery right now. What I want to do is actually flip it to the back, like so, And my iron is heated up. It's to the, I'm using cotton fabric, so it's on the cotton setting, which is pretty hot. We are going to press right on the back of our embroidery, and we're going to press out on all of the fabric here. And because we have this fluffy cloth, our backs, our French knots and stuff, they're going to sink into the poof. And actually, it's going to collect the water too, having the towel. So we're kind of pushing the water into the towel, and it's not going to flatten our stitches because of the towel poofiness too. So you're going to hear the sizzle, which is awesome. There. Best part, sizzling it away. And we're really pushing the water out of it, like heating and pushing the water out of this. So that's why I'm going all the way to the edge too. So we're just getting this whole thing. I'm almost stretching it even while I'm doing it. So I'm kind of going from the center out. You can see it's already lighter in some areas. That's the dry parts. It's already, some of this outside stuff is dry. So around bulk, stitches that have a lot of thread, that's not going to dry as easily. So you might see a little wetness around those stitches. Like right now I can see it's definitely wetter within our embroidery than on the outside. That's expected. But we're just getting all that water out and pressing it at the same time, which is nice. We're actually kind of steaming it, right? And your towel's going to get wet from this. So once you get it, so the outside look good and maybe the inside just has a little bit of the wetness on like that, I'm actually going to scooch it to a drier, this is wet, it's almost soaking right there. I'm going to scooch it to a different, drier part of the towel. So if you're doing this with a ton of embroideries, you might need a couple towels, or you might need to keep flipping it because it will get wet, the towel. I'm just trying to get that last little bit of wetness away from my evergreen stitches. And again, that is a lot of thread there, so that might take a couple hours to dry on its own, to air dry, but we've definitely got the process started. And I like this better than air drying in general because it's all pressed all nicely right away. Air drying, you'll still have all the wrinkles in. Just right up here is pretty wet yet. Just trying to get that. I think we'll probably stop there, and I'll let the rest, around these bits, just air dry. So let's see what we got here. Awesome. So what I do like to do at this point these are really big chain stitches. So you can see they're kind of distorted a little bit. You can take a needle and just kind of shape them a little bit more. You can just run your needle through them a little bit. I do like how teardroppy they ended up being. But yeah, you can just shape them a little bit, get them placed exactly where you want again, and then they'll finish drying kind of where you want them. And the only time I ever have to do this is when I'm using some really big floppy stitches like this. Just get those extra little shapy shapes in. Extra little division between them. But all in all, I think that looks pretty cute. And then these, I think, are extra poofy. I did make these a little bit more loose. Oh, I think it's actually kind of sweet. They look extra poofy. And as these dry, I think it'll tighten up a little bit too. So we'll see. There we go, that's looking nice. And these are damp yet because it is that bigger stitches. Alright, so remember when I traced with pencil for a little, this will actually wear off a little bit, but the pencil takes a little bit longer. But look, there's an N right there. So it looks like it says Santan right there, which is goofy, but that's fine. Alright. I'm going to just let this dry the rest of the way, but it's basically almost 100% dry. And it's nice and flat already. I kind of bent it a little bit there. Let's just finish off the edge nice. And this is ready to go, ready for whatever our next step is, you guys. So we are done and done. Awesome. So let's, I'll just get you guys like a final close-up look here. We can look at it all together, and then we are done. So a little over just about 3.5 hours here today, you guys. That is a big finish to finish an embroidery like this. All right, you guys. There we are. So thank you again for joining me on this Saturday Stitch Along. Here we are, all done. The Embroidery of the Month, the November Embroidery of the Month. So we do have bundles still through November for this. So I do have the floss and the fabric and needle all in that bundle. And then you'll still get that digital pattern. But yay, I'm excited. So I have no idea what I'm going to do with this yet. I think it would be like a really cute little pillow. Like a little holiday pillow to just set out. I think actually that would be really cute. I could even do like a little border on it. I'm going to have to look to see if I have an extra pillow form in the basement with all my fabric stuff. I'm going to have to check that out because that would be pretty cute. The one little pillow could be the decorative thing that we have out. But this is great. So that's it for today. So next week is when we'll be working on the koala quilt again. So we'll be putting on the label on our koala quilt, our like koala quilt that we all did together at the start of the year. It'll also be the quilt auction. We're going to have some video for that that John made to show you when my mom and I were making it together. And we're going to have some other fun things next week. So stay tuned for next week. I am really happy to have this done, though. This was fun. So thank you guys for hanging out. I know we've been here for a while, and I really appreciate chit-chatting with you, and I love these Saturday stitch-alongs with you guys. So good luck on all your projects for the rest of the weekend, and I will see you on Monday. So thanks again, guys. Goodbye.